BIONICLE, Mask of Light. Written by C.A. Hapka. Recording by Mr. Legalover55. Chapter 16. Kini-Nui. Joller breathed out, awed by the sight that lay before his eyes. "Kini-Nui," he whispered. "The great temple." The temple and the surrounding mountains were bathed in the colorful rays of the setting sun. The mask of light glowed as they crossed the Amaja circle. As they approached a giant head carved into the stone at the edge of the plateau, the mask's light faded.
"No way," Takua said. "We've been all over the island just to wind up here?"
"Why not? It's a sacred place," Joller pointed out. Takua grabbed the mask, which immediately glowed brightly again.
"You sure you're working this right?"
At that moment, a beam of brilliant light shot out of the mask. It landed on the giant stone head. The ground quaked, shaking loose countless years' worth of dirt and grime from the carving. As the outlines of a mask began to be visible underneath, the sun dipped beneath the horizon, plunging the temple into dusky dimness. "Wow, this is it," Joller said. "The seventh Toa must be here." An ominous hiss rose nearby. Takua and Joller turned toward the sound in fear. 3 Rakshi stepped out from behind a rock. Fragmenter, Disintegrator, and Poison. Joller gasped.
"Give me the mask, Takua,"
he said grimly, grabbing it from his friend's hands.
"Joller, no,"
Takua cried.
"We both know the mask chose me. I am the true herald."
"Are you still sure? Even now?" Takua held out his hand.
"Yes," he said firmly. "I'm the herald."
Joller hesitated briefly, then handed over the mask. Takua nodded.
"And I say run!"
he cried. Takua, Joller, and Puku raced down toward the lower plateau. The ground quaked again at the base of the steps. A fissure erupted in a shower of rocks and earth, and 3 more Rakshi burst out of the ground. Takua and Joller turned to race back up the steps, but the first trio of Rakshi were already descending from the top. They were trapped. Suddenly, a flare of brilliant fire rocketed overhead, illuminating the entire temple. The Rakshi shielded their faces against the glare. An urn atop the enormous stone head ignited, illuminating Liwa and Gali, who stood on either side. Tahu stepped in from the shadows, the fire reflecting off his bright red armor. Takua let out a breath of relief.
"Great!"
he called to the 3 Toa as they leaped into the air.
"You can get us out of here!"
Tahu pulled out his swords. "We are done running!" The Fragmenter Rakshi hissed, unleashing an arc of dark energy from its staff. Tahu lifted his shield, enveloping all of the Toa and Matoran in a protective force field. He staggered backward as the Rakshi's bolt hit, but recovered quickly. "We will not be broken!" the Fire Toa shouted defiantly. He and Liwa stood side by side as the Fragmenter, Poison, and Disintegrator Rakshi approached. Behind them, Gali led Takua and Joller down the steps toward the lower temple.
"This way!"
she cried. Liwa summoned a whirlwind, sending it spinning down to grab the sand from the Amaja circle. The sand cycloned feverishly, enveloping the advancing Rakshi. Tahu crossed his sword, sending a blast of fire into the swirling sandstorm. The sand particles glowed red, then white-hot. When Tahu and Liwa both lowered their arms, their creation remained. The Rakshi were trapped from the neck down in a prison of glass. In the lower temple, the other 3 Rakshi moved toward Gali and herd charges, cutting off their escape. The ground between them suddenly rumbled and exploded. 3 figures erupted out of the quake, landing beside Gali and the others. Gali cried out in amazement as she recognized the ice, earth, and stone Toa.
"Brothers!"
she shouted to Pohatu and Anua.
"We thought we lost you."
"You might have, but for our frosty friend,"
Onua replied, gesturing toward Kopaka. Kopaka shrugged. It was on the way. Gali raised an eyebrow.
"Kopaka had to dig out the chief miner?"
Onua looked sheepish.
"Well, he needs to get his hands dirty from time to time."
The hunger, anger, and fear Rakshi had recovered from the surprise of the Toa's arrival. They advanced again, hissing menacingly. The anger Rakshi banged its staff on the ground, sending a ring of dark anger energy toward the Toa. But the energy passed right through them, leaving them untouched. The Rakshi hissed in surprise.
Our anger is no more, Rakshi, Tahu said. We are united.
Liwa and Pohatu leaped into action, somersaulting around the 3 Rakshi faster than the eye could follow. The creatures swung their staffs wildly at their tumbling foes, but wound up striking one another instead. The Fear Rakshi squealed in dismay as the Hunger Rakshi's staff hit it. Its fear energy drained from its body, sending it tumbling helplessly to the ground. The Hunger Rakshi hissed. Turning away from the circling Toa, it leaped toward Takua and Jaller. In the blink of an eye, Tahu and Gali joined together and summoned their elemental powers. A blast of steam burst from their tools, catching the Hunger Rakshi in its mighty stream and lifting it into the air. The Toa moved in on the Anger Rakshi. The creature backed away, hissing in frustration. Behind the Toa, the Fear Rakshi stirred. Its eyes began to glow as energy flowed back into its body. The creature climbed to its feet and started up the steps toward Takua and Jaller. The Toa didn't notice. All of their attention was focused on the Anger Rakshi in front of them.
Now! Tahu shouted. As one!
The others knew what to do. Anua slammed the ground, sending a wave of earth toward the Anger Rakshi. Pohatu transformed the rolling wave of earth into a wave of boulders. Tahu transformed the boulders into a wave of lava, which broke over the Rakshi, enveloping it. The Anger Rakshi tried to escape the lava, but suddenly the jet of steam dissipated, sending the Hunger Rakshi plunging back to earth, right on top of the Anger Rakshi. Kopaka jumped forward, striking the lava with his sword and instantly freezing it solid. Both the Hunger and Anger Rakshi were frozen along with it. Tahu stepped toward them, examining the Toa's handiwork.
They've been trapped before, and were still able to escape,
he reminded the others. Kopaka leaned in, yanking the Krata out of the Rakshi's armored bodies. Not this time. A frightened squeal erupted from somewhere above. Glancing up, the Toa were just in time to see Puku tumble down the steps, tossed aside by the Fear Rakshi. The creature turned with a hiss, backing Takua and Jaller up the steps. End of Chapter 16.